Hey up everybody and welcome back. Well, as you noticed, I had to sort of truncate the last video when I did the editing. I realised how long it was and it's been a while since I put one in, so didn't want to keep you waiting too long. So I have persevered since then. However, you remember the bit of snow I showed you? I got up yesterday morning, we'd had a storm come through and there was another 12-13 inches of snow there, so I had a fun day yesterday and it was below zero out on the tractor trying to clear the drive, which is, when I've paced it out, it's 160 yards long, and it's not, because it's an old farmhouse, it's some of it's not that even, so it's a bit of a bugger to do even with the tractor. So what have I been doing? Well, I finished off. It's not actually finished, it's got to be polished a little bit more. There's still a few sanding marks in from where the welds are. But I've done this one, so we'll put it on so you can see it. Tell you what, talking to people about TIG welding, they always say how difficult aluminium welding is. And I don't have any trouble with it. But this stainless steel tube was an absolute pain in the arse, it really was. So, as I mentioned, you should back purge it and all that sort of stuff. That flux worked well. I didn't have the brown sugar, the really granular look on the back, but there's no way I could get it where I'd low enough amperage, although there's a thing about amperage and travel speed, but I couldn't get the nice shiny weld that everybody else gets. I think it's partly because the cup I'm using is a bit small, but it's one of those things where I've actually ordered a bigger one, but do I want to wait several days before I could get things done? The welds weren't perfect, but you know, I was welding proud and grinding it off. So anyway, enough said. Let's put this on. Right, so this thing goes on here. Interestingly enough, the book says to put these on with a bit of tape. Oh, and I've moved the bloody tape. Hang on, let's see if this will stick it on just to hold it. So you use a bit of tape to hold that. And anyway, we're not going to start the engine. Oh god, I've done it again, look. You've got to put this on. See, it'll go on that, but obviously it won't go over there. So see, start as you mean to go on. Get it wrong from the beginning, and then you're not disappointed later on with further errors. Okay, so we put them on. That to hold them. Oh, did I show you these and I forgot? Hang on, let me take my gex off so I can see and show you these. I'm going to try and focus up close. Just bear with me. There you go. Look, they're really nice. They're chromed. They're slightly knurled so you can hold them on. And at this end, they take an Allen key rather than a bolt head. So that's how they fit into the holes nicely. Alright? Right, let's... I think you're still focused there. Okay, so this goes on back into the silencer. Like that. Down to there. Boop, boop, boop. I'm doing this all a bit cack-handed here, so... Oh, by the way, we've had yet more subscribers, so thank you, and welcome to our happy little band. And some more comments, exhausts, which we'll go through in a minute. There it is. And couple of nice comments about the videos. You know, I mentioned I thought it was, I put a little note on to say it was long, and that wasn't a problem for you because you enjoyed it. So I won't fasten this up too tight because it's all going to come off again. There it is on there. Turn the silencer. That's going to go on there when it's on tight. So, how does that look? Can you see that? I don't think that's too bad. The first attempt at a stainless steel exhaust made with bends. Right, so we'll look at the other side. Now, I had a bunch of comments about how to do this. A couple of comments about Tridents. And I'd completely forgotten that the Rocket 3 had a duplex frame. I was thinking all the time about the Trident with a single tube. But because of the way these tubes are here, I don't think, well, I can come right out here. But there's a problem with this. So we'll go around the other side and we'll look at that and see about Siamesing it into that. I don't think it's going to be a big problem just Siamesing it one side and leaving one on its own. We come back to the thing like Trials bike wheels. This motor's got more than enough power for riding on the roads, particularly here, where, as I say, it's dangerous. Although New York roads, they have some lovely roads, lots of swoopy bends, but lots of tractors and stuff as well. So I don't think, even if we're losing 10% of the power, there's still, you know, when you think about it, a Bonneville was what, 47 horsepower, and everybody thought they were the bee's knees. Admittedly a little lighter than this, but even so, I'm sure that the bit of power I lose from not having it exhausting perfectly isn't going to be a big deal. 3 into 1 would make a nice noise, but we'll see. Anyway, so we're going to do that in a minute, and then what we're going to do after that is I'm going to do the airbox. So let's get stuck in. Right, air filter. Okay, I gave you an idea of the plan. I've been looking at this a couple of ways. I did think of putting it on like that. If I did that, you see, I could just use the existing mountings with a plate on the top, plate underneath, and bolt it down through there. But it was just a bit wide for the tubes, because from the top tube, you know, they come at an angle, and this was just getting, this part here is more or less where it goes in between the tubes, and I was starting to get, well, I suppose it would go in like that. But then the other thing was, this side catches on this side tool side cover, because you remember it's got the little sort of tray in it to put your tool kit in. So I'm sticking with that, which means, as you can see, I've got to cut these off. So I'll cut those off, and it will go on like that. Now, to see what was what I did was I made a plate. What I'm going to do is cut 2 alloy plates like this. So one, a solid one, will go on the top, and what it will have actually is a couple of ears on either side that will put a bolt through. And then the one underneath will cut the hole in. Then the air filter will go on like that. I'll put a little rim around both of them, and they'll squish it up, and that'll be fine. So what I did find out was that even with that like that, let me get proof the tape again. If I put that on like that, just out of interest, I think I'll have to move the camera a little. I can actually get that in. So I'm not going to make it that big, but what it does mean, was it that way I put it in or this way? No, that's right. Go that way, it swivels round and comes out. So I'm not going to put a piece on like that, but what I can do is we're going to cut this out of here a bit. I'm going to put a little lip on the back, just about so much, for that to be pressed down onto. So first things first, let's cut these off and make this a little bit bigger. Actually, I think that's the right width of that. Yeah, so I'll just cut this piece out of there, put a piece on the back, and then we'll see about cutting out 2 plates. So I've cut off those 2 and I've put my piece on the back, and just to show you I wasn't mouthing off, see, I can aluminium weld. God knows what's wrong with this stainless steel. Okay, next thing, cut 2 of these. Right, we've come across a slight problem. I've got this in and it's out by just a fraction. Can't get that in. Actually, it might, no, it won't squash down. It would probably fit as well if I used 1/16 here. But I actually have an even better solution, because it turns out, you remember when I had the piece of cardboard fastened to the top? Well, as you can see, I've taped on the actual aluminium. Ooh, where's that bolt tight? There we go, come on. And it will come out with that. So what I'm going to do is the little lip I put on, I'm going to cut that back off, and this larger piece I'm going to weld that on, and we'll put the filter directly onto the air box and then put a top on. So let me go and do that. Right, so we've got our look at that welding. I mean, I should have used 1 piece, but I had a piece laid around, and you know how tight I am, but I was quite pleased with that. Anyway, there's our piece on the back, and it still goes in nice and easily, which surprises me actually. I'm going to pop, where are they? There we go. I'm going to pop these couple of bolts in just so that we're in the right spot. That one in there. That one in there. Then I've made up a top. We're actually really close here. Would have been better if I'd made this out of 1/16, but I'm only going to use 2 bolts to pull it down, because that's all I can really get at easily. And I didn't think 1/16 would be stiff enough. So that goes on there. See, that fits in. Then that, as you can see, I've actually got to slide it in like that. Goes in there. Like so. You know, this is really weird. When I was trying this out before I started to film here, that was virtually touching the top tube. And now there's, I mean, it's only a small gap, but a little gap. So anyway, there it is. How does it look? Looks quite good, doesn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a lug on here so that I can bolt it down to here. Now, as you can see, I don't have much space here. So what I'm going to do is get some 1/2 inch round, and in the mill I'm going to sort of plunge in here with a 1/2 inch end mill, and then I'm going to cut about, oh, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch of this 1/2 inch round, which will be drilled and tapped, and that's going to be sort of put into the slot I'll make and welded in. Then we'll have an ear on here, bolt will go through, and Bob's your uncle. We can just tighten it down and that'll hold everything in place and it'll all breathe nicely. And where are we? As you can see, that battery goes in there nicely. Alright, so let me start to look at this fastening thing. Now I've got the airbox clamped down, but I've had a slight change of plan because it suddenly struck me that if I had plunged here, then as soon as I'd gone through the top, I'd actually be cutting right on the edge of the plate that I used to make it, which probably isn't a good idea. So what I've done is I've got it where I want it to be, zeroed it out. So what I'm going to do is move to one side, come down the desired depth, and then mill in from the side. So we're zeroed there, we're zeroed there. So let's come out, come down here 3/4 of an inch. I still haven't been able to find a handle to be able to wind this down. So I'm having to do it with sort of the ordinary quill thing. Alright, safety glasses on. Whoops, take the other ones off. And I'll do one side and then we'll cut away. Okay, switch it on I suppose. Whoops, put it in gear because I've got it in neutral. There we go. And don't forget that when I've engaged the back gear, I've got to run it in the opposite direction. That's better. Did you enjoy that? Of course the whole box is acting like a sounding box, so I won't force you to listen to the other one. I'll do the other side and then we'll do our little pieces. So I've made two little pieces, threaded, and what they're going to do is go in there, like that. And I've also got just a little piece of plate here which I'm going to put on, screw that into there and then clamp that on there, and that will make sure this is vertical to that, well, right angles to that face. So let me do that and then I can weld them in, then we'll see about how we're going to fasten the top. I've welded the two pieces into there. I don't know whether to leave it with a weld or this side I've actually ground out a little and started to shape it in. I think it'd look nicer like that. So anyway, they're on there, they welded in, and as I said, they were drilled and tapped. So the next thing I did was, onto the lid, I've put a couple of ears. Air filter goes on, lid goes on. Then I've made two pieces here which are just slightly shorter than the thickness of the filter. I don't want to bolt down to squish the filter, because although it would feel as if it was bolted down tight, because it's bolted down onto something flexible, there's a chance it could vibrate loose. Whereas this way, we're sort of solid all the way through. And in fact, what I might do, I haven't decided yet, is I might weld these into here. Probably put this little lip to go around here as well and tidy it all up. Because the lid and the lid and the filter are going to slide in as one. So having these welded to that wouldn't make any difference to what I'm trying to fit in, because they'd only be as deep as the filter is. So anyway, they screw down both sides nice and tight, and there's our filter on. So let's take it over, put it on, I'll show you how it goes, fits onto the bike, and then we've got to look at the battery. I've put the airbox in and bolted it down so we know that it's in exactly the place it's going to go. So as I say, what happens here is the lid and the filter are going to go in together. So they go in and get swizzled round. Come to there. And then in will go those, we tightened up, one on either side. So there we have it. As I say, we're just clear at the back, taking that bottom plate out and using the top of the box, or being able to be able to have that shelf at the back. Worked out really nicely. So there we go. Airbox is actually a little bigger. Filter is, I say, twice the area of the other one. A proper automotive filter. And we've got a nice big hole in the box for it to breathe through to the 3 carbs. Now, the next thing, or the last thing in this area I should say, is to put the battery in. Now the battery's got to go in this way to have the positive terminal over that side where all the wiring points to. So because of that, we need to be off a little bit. So I've ordered some foam, sort of sticky backed foam, dense foam, which I'm going to put in here. I've got it in 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch thickness. So I'll put a nice pad of foam stuck to the back of the airbox, and then we can put our straps on. I'm going to show you the straps in a minute in close up, but one thing I wanted to show you also was that the battery is 1 inch shorter lengthwise than the width of this. So when I put the straps on, I don't want it to be able to move backwards and forwards like that. So what I'm planning to do is put another piece on the back of the airbox, just inside. Again, I'll show you all in a minute, so that it's up tight against it. I've actually got a little tray. This is one for like the BSA B25s, which is just the right size for the base of that battery. So it'll be sitting on rubber, and it'll have rubber in between it and the box, and then the straps will hold it down. Well, hang on, excuse me again. That goes on there, and these straps, no, goes in there like that. That's it. So the strap goes on there into a little notch in there, and it's going to have a slot there. I'll show you how these slot things work in a minute. So that'll pull it down onto the base and tight against the airbox, and the airbox of course is bolted down with 2 good bolts inside, and it's also tight on the 3 carburetor, so the airbox isn't going to go anywhere. That's going to be a nice stiff place for that to be down. But as I say, I don't want this battery to be able to move, you know, it could vibrate and just move side to side. We've got to stop that happening. So let's take all this off and I'll show you what I'm planning to do with the battery. Now the battery goes in under this thing. Piece of rubber came with it, which actually is very, very stiff. But anyway, that goes, leave the rubber out. That goes on like that. And then as you saw, these go on like that and fasten at this end. So let me zoom you in a little bit closer and I'll show you what this end is. Now as you can see, this end has got this interesting little set of bends in it. And what they do is you have a little slot like that. And they go in, goes in, and then it comes over round and then in like that, and there it is. See? Stuck in. You have it pulling at the right angle and it holds itself in. And then when you want, you just go round the angles. I'm trying to show you this without my fingers getting in the way. Where are we? One, pull, and then the other one. So what we've got to do is put a couple of slots like this in the sides of the airbox. Now of course I can only do it on one side because the other bit's going to be on the back, and I want these tensions to be roughly the same. So we'll find the best way to put it in. I think it would actually, if you think of that as being the back and the battery out here, I think it will go in, where are we, and still hold tight with the elastic or the rubber. So let's have a look at that. Now as I mentioned, the battery is actually slightly narrower than the width of the box. So what I'm going to do is put a little piece on welded like that. So when I put this in, let's see, it goes that way, it'll go up to that, be up against it, and it'll be just right at this side. Now the reason I've put a piece of cardboard in is because just as with this bit on the top, I've got to make sure it'll go in. So let's go over to the bike and see if we can fit it in with a piece stuck out the back like that. Well, a moment of truth, let's see if this thing will fit. It goes in like that. Not touching anything. Boom, yes, that will go in. Oh, come on. Isn't this always amazing, eh? When things will go in and then they won't come out? Or when you struggle to get something in and then... Oh, come on, you stupid thing. Up there, up at an angle, and there it comes. Let me try that again. In like that. Round. Yep, that misses everything. So it's round and then up at that side, and out it comes. So, we'll go and cut a piece of 1/8 inch. I'll put a nice little curve on it, and I'll weld it on there, and we'll do some little holes for the slots. I've put the slots in each side of this, one there and one there, and for this one, because I couldn't really get it at an angle, what I've done is I have, where's it gone? There it is. I've actually just given that a little twist to angle it so that it'll go upwards. So let me put the box on and then we'll see how the battery goes. So, battery box, I keep saying that. Airbox is bolted in, it went in nice and easily with that extra piece welded on. I put the 2 straps on, and I've cut this to the right length. I had to put a new notch in. So let's see what's happening. Now don't forget there'll be 1/4 inch of foam there, so this will be tighter. This is awkward because I'm trying to do it and not get in the way of the camera. So that goes on the one at the back, and then this one gets pulled up, put on there. There's our battery in, as I said, it'll be foam there. Then this little tinker goes in, gets bolted down, and we're all done. Now, you're all expecting me to finish the exhaust pipe. Well, I'm not going to, because during the course of the video I ran out of argon, of course at the weekend, so it must lost me a couple of days, and then it was Thanksgiving here, and we went down to Baltimore to Linda's son and daughter and their grandchildren. So I didn't want to wait too long for videos, and I thought the airbox and everything was quite reasonable. So that's it for the day. I'm actually going to give the exhaust a little more thinking about, particularly from some of your comments. So until next time, go off and enjoy yourselves.